The Form 7 lightsaber combat developed by Mace Windu called Vaapad was a method of dueling that allowed Mace to pull from his own inner darkness, but use it for the way of good. Mace had taken the sequences of Form 7 lightsaber combat, which was forbidden by the Jedi Order, and was allowed to toy with and alter it by the direct permission of Yoda. The new style of dueling was developed for the purpose of keeping Mace within the boundaries of the light side of the Force, but also not ignoring the more aggressive emotions and overall enjoyment of a fight that he also experienced. When brought to its peak, Mace could use the form not only to use the dark side within himself, but within others, as Darksiders' own power would be turned against them if Mace were to fight them. By using this darkness, Mace could tap into the dark side of the Force without ever succumbing to its true nature. The form allowed Windu to perfectly combat the dark side warriors that came his way, but also the raging emotions within himself. The form allowed an outlet for them so that they would not corrupt Mace Windu fully if he were to tap into them. By this description of the form, Vaapad sounds as if it would be the perfect candidate to be studied by the Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker and for other Jedi that dance close to the dark side to use the form. Anakin had proven himself a powerful Jedi, and a good one the majority of the time, but he still had a darkness within him that ruled his emotions when he became heated. Anakin, like Mace, too genuinely enjoyed combat and learning new fighting styles, pushing himself to become as powerful as possible. Anakin was so driven by this partially to live up to his status and power as the Chosen One, and partially to feed his own ego. But Vaapad came with one key hang-up that made Mace Windu very weary of the potential of the form. Not only the potential for the form to overwhelm an enemy, but the potential for it to corrupt a user fully. Vaapad required a user to embrace the dark side, but not to let it alter their souls and very being. This made the practice extremely deadly. In order for a practitioner to use Vaapad, they must open the door to the darkness and step through the threshold, but they must also anchor themselves to the light. If that anchor were to break or even sway, the user of the form could be lost to the darkness forever. When originally developing the form, Windu believed it was difficult to master, but that it could be done. Windu in fact did not create the form alone, he did so with the aid of the Jedi Master Sora Bulk. Windu would truly grow weary of the form after Sora turned to the dark side and became a servant of Count Dooku. After Bulk's turn to the dark side, Mace trained one other student in Vaapad fully, his own apprentice, Deba Balapa, for a time. During this time, Windu believed he had found another worthy of the form and able to use Vaapad without falling to the dark side. However, Deepa too momentarily turned to the dark side of the Force, with Mace citing Vaapad as a contributing factor. Although Mace was able to bring Deepa back to the light and the Jedi, he refused to take on another student unless he was absolutely sure they could handle the form. Two Jedi came to meet the task of learning Vaapad, the first being Quinlan Vos, who implemented Vaapad sequences into a sparring session with Mace Windu in order to prove himself worthy of Windu. Not impressed at all, but angered, Mace Windu swiftly defeated Vos and explained he was not to train in the form and that it was too dangerous for him. The other student that rose to the challenge of learning Vaapad was Anakin Skywalker. Anakin desired to push his skills to the limit, but again, Windu refused to train him as he saw Skywalker dance too closely to the dark side of the Force. Mace also stated that if Anakin were to use Vaapad, it could very easily fully turn him to the dark side. These comments really only served to anger Anakin, which really proved Mace Windu's point, with Obi-Wan telling Anakin he could still become a great Jedi without using Vaapad. Ultimately, Mace Windu was absolutely correct. The greatest muscle in use while using Vaapad was the mind, and it required one's stance in the Force to be set within the light. Mace Windu never desired to turn to the dark side, he just recognized darker emotions within himself, and then chose to master them rather than be slave to them. Anakin, on the other hand, on several occasions did note the power in the dark side, and was seduced by it, eventually fully. In the end, Mace Windu was able to do what Anakin was not, and was able to push past his normal limits, not only tapping into his own darkness, but the darkness of opponents during battle. Ultimately, Mace Windu was never really tempted by the dark side or power. Instead of seeking power itself, he sought to fix his own weaknesses, and by doing this, he constructed Vaapad. Perhaps this is the key Anakin and so many others missed. Vapad was not a means of power, but a remedy to an existing weakness. Only by accepting and embracing that fault could it ever be reached, but still, more important to remember, it is indeed a fault. But that is why Mace Windu refused to train Anakin in Vapad, and why he deemed it too dangerous for the Jedi Chosen One. But leave your thoughts on this in the comments down below, and was Mace Windu correct to deny Anakin training in this department? Thank you guys as always so much for watching, may the Force be with you, and have a great day.